It's a great day here in Nigeria and all over the world as we celebrate Nigeria at 65. Some 65 years ago, a baby was born through the struggles of our founding fathers to ensure that she has sovereignty. And on October 1st, 1960, Nigeria got our independence. And the likes of Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Chief Anthony Nahoro, and others were in the forefront of this struggle, although they are no longer alive today. But their struggles and their impact are still being felt in Nigeria. And of course, they would have wanted a better Nigeria, which of course will come, God willing. Today we'll be talking on Nigeria at 65. But before I introduce my guest, I'd like us to listen to this short report. Then when we listen to this short report, then I will bring my guest to you.
That anthem signifies the independence of Nigeria on October 1st, 1960, when Nigeria's green, white, green flag was hoisted with pride as an independent nation from the British imperialists. It was a new dawn full of promises. Today, as Nigeria clocks 65 years of nationhood, it is pertinent to reflect on a journey defined by resilience, hope, and the unyielding.
Yes, that was just a short clip to actually let us know that Nigeria is actually celebrating our independence at 65. I have a guest in the studio, and what we'll be doing today is to go history lane to see how Nigeria got our independence, what were the things that happened before the independence, and even after the independence, and even 1963 that she became a republic. I have Lekon Shote in the studio. He is a public affairs analyst, a newspaper columnist, and also an entrepreneur. Lekon, nice to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Amaludu. Happy independence.
Yes, happy independence to you too.
Yeah.
Yes, before we got this independence that we're celebrating today at 65, some things happened before then. What were the struggles that the Nauros of this world, the Awolowos of this world, the Tafawa Balewas of this world, and the Azikiwes of this world actually went through before that independence came?
Okay, I think we have to start with somebody called Herbert Macaulay, who is the grandson of Bishop Ajayi Crowther. His mother was the daughter of, that's Herbert Macaulay's mother was the daughter of Ajayi Crowther. He was one of those who had early education, and he was based in Lagos. And he was able to, because of his education and his family background, his father was also a school principal. If I'm correct, I think his father was the first principal of CMS Grammar School. That's the father of Herbert Macaulay, if I'm correct. So you can imagine the kind of background he had. So he had intellect and the capacity to interrogate even what the colonial masters were doing, even before Nigeria was formed in 1914. Okay, from that point on, up until 1960, all those people that we call politicians of that time, they were called um, um, nationalists. They were the nationalists, because they wanted Nigeria to be independent, and they fought and they engaged the colonial masters in several. They got them to write several constitutions, the Maloney Constitution, the Richards Constitution,
The McPherson,
the McPherson Constitution, and then the Independence Constitution, just to stage by stage move us into independence. And there were several conferences held in Europe, in England, I'm sorry, and it afforded the opportunity, the nationalists, the opportunity to express the direction that they think Nigeria would be going. We remember what we call the Nigerian Youth Movement. We remember the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons.
Yes, NCNC.
Yeah, NCNC. And then we had the Action Group, which was established by Obafemi Awolowo. And then we had the NPC, Northern People's Congress. So essentially, you will see that the politics of that time was Nigeria had three regions. The Southern Protectorate was divided into two in 1939. We now had the Western region and then the Eastern region. Okay, and then the North was one cohesive something, which is about 79% of the land mass of the country, of Nigeria. Okay, so so it was a gradual thing, but I regret to say that, especially if you read a book, The Lawless Society, written by a lawyer, a Nigerian who was born in Nigeria but raised in England, he showed
Could you
that.
just project a little so that we can.
So he showed that Nigeria, Southern Protectorate and the Northern Protectorate were made to grow at different directions. The Southern Protectorate was largely Christian and Westernized or Europeanized. The North was largely Muslim, and then the animists and some Christians in the Middle Belt, and then Islam, and then the orientation was toward the Middle East, the Arab nations. So, if you read, there's a book written by Lord Lugard in 1921 or 1922. It's called The Dual Mandate. And in that book, he was trying to explain to us how he allowed the North to grow culturally, but at his own pace, and then the South also. So I think that is one of the reasons why the North and Southern Nigeria have problems understanding.
So you essentially what you're saying now is that the kind of problems that we had, which is manifesting,
which we are still having now.
Yes, was actually forested or was created by
the approach of the colonialists, especially as recommended by as put down in the book titled The Dual Mandate, written by Lord Lugard in 1922, I'm sure now. And then Dele Ogun, who's a lawyer, he's a Nigerian, based in England, born in Nigeria, but he was raised in England. He also wrote The Lawless Society. You could see how, well, the best way I can explain this to you is that in the North, you had what we call the indirect rule.
Yes.
The emirs were the native, they called them native authorities, though they were assisted by some white colonial civil servants, but they were actually the colonial authorities, the local government authorities. And then in the South, we had the district officers, who were civil servants.
So that was when
so you can see that dichotomy.
The direct rule was introduced.
Down here, but towards the North. So that, I think, is the best way to explain the dichotomy in the way Nigeria was going. And so the North was allowed to continue with its values, and the South also was allowed to embrace the Western values, as well as what you call the Judeo-Christian traditions and Christianity. And so both sides thought that they were better than the others. While the Southerners thought, they are illiterate. The Northerners thought the Southerners are infidels. So I think that is one of the reasons that And of course, even though the North was not too keen at that time for Western education, Lord Lugard let them be. And it now posed a question. I recall that I think in 1960, if I'm correct, when students graduated, the total population of University of Ibadan students, I understand that there was only one Northerner out of about 1,000 students. So that shows you the level of engagement that the North had, and what the Southern and the Protectorate had about exposure to Western education. Yeah. So that's my thinking, and I think some historians and political scientists need to interrogate that. Maybe somebody needs to do a PhD project on that to be able to let us see how those two different approaches got us to where we are.
Yes, it's good that we're doing this so that history can also be said and be seen, because most times we find out that the younger ones of these days do not know some of these things, and they do not even care to want to listen. I think it's also the fault of past administrations for cancelling history in schools. I think now history is being brought back so that people can learn from it. Now, having said that, what are the things that you think this direct rule and indirect rule have as pros and cons for Nigeria as a country?
Well, I don't know if when Lord Lugard suggested it, in 1914, the idea was, in fact, the reason for forming Nigeria into one, there was Northern Protectorate, there was Southern Protectorate, which were different countries, if you like. But the cost of running the government in the North was becoming too expensive. The resources or the revenue, tax revenue, internally generated revenue of the North was not going to meet the cost of governance. So that was why Lord Lugard recommended that, okay, the South is more efficient, has more funds, much more revenue. Let's join the two together to form one company, so that some of the resources from the South can be used to finance governance in the North. And that is exactly, and that's why we find ourselves where we are right now. And that's I think, informs this nonsense formula revenue allocation committee that we have, that you will take money from the states, take it to Abuja, and then call the states to now begin to redistribute the money. Let me give you a ridiculous example of this kind of nonsense. I was an accountant with a federal government agency many years ago, and we needed broom. It was a state in the southeast of Nigeria. We needed brooms that you can buy in the market. We had to apply to the headquarters. The headquarters then went to Cross River State to buy the broom, transport it to Lagos. Our headquarters
at what cost?
So they had to take the brooms, first all the brooms for the whole nation. They bought for everybody, took it to Lagos, which was our headquarters before we moved to Abuja, and then redistributed to me in the southeast, including our office in Cross River State, where they bought the broom. That's how ridiculous
it was.
It still is. So I don't know why we cannot regionalize at least the economy. Let there be a way that we can generate revenue at the local level, at the regional level. Then you push some money to the federal level as it goes, which what we did in the First Republic. Each state government, Lagos, Western region had cocoa. You sold your cocoa, and there's a percentage of your revenue that you remit to the federal government. The same thing with even the oil in the east. The same thing with palm oil, the granule. I'm sure you heard of the granule pyramids, hides and skin, cotton, and so on. And so everybody, there was competition between the various subnational units to rubber in the Midwest.
Yes.
So that I think is part of the problem that we are having, and if we don't address it, I don't see how we are going to get that.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
why
yeah.
people will be asking for more states.
Yes, from this you have said, I know that the present administration put up some tax reforms which were resisted eventually after explanations and things like that. Is now been passed into law. The tax reforms
The tax
law
reform, yeah.
is now an act.
Which
now,
will start
yeah,
from the 1st of January.
Of January.
2026.
Now, some of these things were also incorporated in that. I want to believe that this will also address the issues you have mentioned, or do you think it will address it?
Well, see, I have this. I believe in empirical and something. I like to see it work first
Okay.
before. Otherwise, every other thing will just be speculation. You know. Yes, I've read the laws, all the 4 of them. I've read everything, but at the same time, you will find out that you still need to tweak some things. Okay, for example, let's look at VAT. Now, if you know, right there over on our road, I don't want to mention the name of the company, it's a beverages company. The manufacturing plant is here in Lagos State. Now, how do you calculate its VAT? Is it going to be based on what they sell here? Okay, or if the products are sent to Kano to sell, would you calculate the VAT on the sales there? Because over there, when they buy, they pay VAT. Whoever is buying here, from the distributor who is buying here, will pay VAT. Okay, when his own sub dealers buy from him, they pay VAT to him. They pay VAT, they pay VAT, they pay VAT. Now, by the time the VAT revenue is going to be distributed, how will it be distributed? Which part of the country will get? Is it where it is manufactured or where it is sold? Do you understand? So VAT and sales tax are going to be clashing very soon, and Lagos State has sales tax. So that's why I said I would rather wait and see. Luckily, I'm also an accountant, so I can see how it goes. But I don't want to speculate. I have a feeling that something is not quite clear. But when we start to operate, you know, because again, this feeding bottle financial template for running government is the problem we are having. If you are going to make your own money, who cares whether anybody is going to distribute it? Nothing comes. You make your money and then you remit to the federal government that spends it the way it deems fit, rather than how much comes to us, and then you start wasting money. Every month you go to Abuja to go and sit down and be wasting money in the hotels and all that, just to come and somebody is allocating money to you. And then some people are not motivated to be the best that they can be because they know that something will come from
Okay, the autonomy, local government autonomy, I believe will have much impact at the local level when that eventually comes to being.
I hope our governors will allow it, and I think the president also needs to go beyond the court, because whatever the court has said, I don't know if what the court says can contradict the Constitution. The Constitution says that this money should be sent to a joint account of the state and the local government. That's what the Constitution says. Okay? And I think until you unbundle that, you decouple that, so that you can send. I don't like this idea of sending money from federal allocation. But in any case, if that is the way we are running it, then let the local governments get their own directly, so that there will be no issues with the state governors who hold on to it. You know, they use it to blackmail them, and then they use it also to impose candidates that they like in the local government elections as chairmen and councillors and all that. There should be, the local government should be free to operate. I think we discussed it sometime last year on this program, and I said, and you were telling me that they will be free. I said, let them be free. Why do you want to control them? Why does the federal government, for example, when the president removed the governor of Lagos State, of the River State, I thought, I checked through the Constitution. I didn't see any justification. There's no, except that, you know, you can now start talking about the doctrine of necessity, which the president did not talk about.
But the action taken then was because they were getting to a stage of...
According to whose account?
Anarchy.
According to the president's account. Don't forget, the president is still a partisan APC person. So at the end of the day, it's not as if he came from heaven. He's a politician who became president. Okay, so he can. That's his explanation for justifying what he did. But I'm not.
But some were threatening to make the state ungovernable. But although it's now over, the governor has been restated in Rivers.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying that I don't think it, because I fear that he or any other president may want to repeat that same thing, which is not. But if they amend the constitution and say the president can remove, well, okay, that's what the constitution says. But as far as I'm concerned, this is not constitutional. Even though a section of the constitution also say you can suspend part of the, especially fundamental human rights, in certain conditions, public safety, public health, and the rest of them.
Okay, well, now since that is done, the man is restated in
Thank
Rivers State. Yes, thank God. No, because we need to also, as we round up now, what lessons do you think politicians can learn from the past politicians? They were more, you mentioned earlier, you said they were nationalists.
Yeah.
And they had that in mind, they were patriotic, very, very patriotic.
Well,
I'm not saying these ones are not patriotic.
I don't know about...
I'm not saying these ones are not patriotic.
I don't even think they were patriotic. They were nationalists. They were branded nationalists because they wanted independence, not because they were thinking for Nigeria.
Okay.
Each of the political parties, the NCNC eventually became an Eastern Nigerian party. Okay. Action Group was essentially a Western Nigerian party, and NPC, the Northern, by the name, is sectional. So I don't think they made their own mistakes. They goofed in several ways. I don't want to make them into some kind of martyrs or some kind of saints. No, they did some things wrong. For example, somebody set out to say, I'm doing modernization of Nigeria straight away as at the Fourth Republic. So how can you say that is a nationalist? I don't think. How can you say that person is looking for the unity of Nigeria? I don't think so. Do you understand? But yes, they did the best they could within their enclaves. Fine, you know. And then see, even the prime minister, some of the things he did as prime minister of Nigeria, I don't think that is what somebody who wanted the unity of Nigeria would have done. There are several things. We don't have the time to go into it. But as far as I'm concerned, they were each tribalist in their orientation, they were regionalists in their orientation. The best they did was that there was healthy competition, rivalry between them. This one was, once somebody came with an idea, the others copied, and there was
development at that
that's
level.
The only thing I could see in them. But that they were better than today's policy, I don't think so.
Okay, yes, I'm afraid time is no longer on our side. I would have loved to have more of this.
Maybe you sit down for 24 hours.
Yes, but I'm sure if we sit down for 24 hours too, we won't even exhaust it, because you actually have so much to give to us.
That's right.
I want to thank you so much, Lekon Shote, for being part of Talk Point. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, on that note, we have come to the end of Talk Point. 767 and 112 are still the lines always called in types of emergency. Stay out of trouble, as Nigeria also plans to get to 66 and beyond. It is our own responsibility to ensure that we do what is right. It is something that you and I can do. Once we play our parts right and the government also does its parts right, things will get better. On that note, I want to say thank you for joining us on Talk Point. My name is Omololu Rosonwu. See you some other time.